Welcome to Podcast Dear Toten. My name's Rad.
Matt.
Hello, I'm Tack.
Let's continue our talk in this series called Taking Inventory, where we talk about Group 935's facilities. Kind of go over what they're all about. So let's talk about our first facility. That would be the Jungle Facility, aka Shangri-La.
The greatest of all facilities.
That's right. One of
Right.
many.
Is that they essentially use Asian slave labor to mine all the rocks and get the 115, or was it pre-mined already? I guess they viewed him as a god, and so he just goes, "Yo, you guys,
I need you to
do a little something, something."
When's Richtofen getting canceled for that? But so Richtofen, it seems like Richtofen kind of stumbled upon it by accident, or what? Well, we know it's like he was probably sent there, about the Shadow Man. But happens upon this place, the people chase him, then they treat him as a god, kind of. They make this altar for him, and so now it seems like they just use it for mining 115. But there are other members of Group 935 there, because like you see a dead in the Chronicles version, you see like a dead Group 935 soldier. So we assume there's more going on. So like maybe weapon creation, potentially they're finding artifacts and studying them, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it also, you kind of wonder if this is sort of Call of Duty's version of all, like the conspiracy of like the Nazi expeditions to like Tibet and the Himalayas and stuff like that. Like, is this a part of that? Is this their version of it? Or were they sent in later? Or like, it's kind of, I don't know, the first thing that kind of came to mind with that. Because it feels like that's sort of the vibe they're getting, but then at least pre-Chronicles, it seems like it was only a Richtofen thing, and Group 935 wasn't really aware of it. But
yeah, is there a consensus or not on just how to treat the Chronicles generally? Are they their own versions of time? Like, should I take it seriously that there were 935 soldiers on 935 Shang, or Shang? So like, is that?
yeah, like I feel that it's intentional. I mean, the only way I think it could be dismissed if they were like, oh, in the original design of the map, we wanted to have more of these aesthetic things, and now that we're going back, we wanted to put them in. But at the same time, I also feel like this is Treyarch, and they're known for putting like the ciphers and little letters and stuff on the ground, that adding something like that probably does carry some weight to it. So I feel like Chronicles are their own, just another part of the cycle. Like I don't know. I'd interpret it as that there's probably a little bit more weight to those bodies being there. I guess pun intended.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Blondella said that their philosophy with these, or with the Chronicles versions, was like to make them faithful to the original, to where like if you never experienced them before, you can experience them now and you'll get the full effect. Okay. But they're also additive in that like stuff is added that like would fit the
original.
There are
new quotes.
Right. And it fits with the story as we know it. At least it tries to. But
that's it's interesting, because that seems like that's a sort of a significant change to the story, where before it seemed like it was maybe Richtofen and his cronies, but now it's like, yeah, are there more people that were involved in this? I mean, I guess Richtofen had more underlings, but I mean, I feel like by itself he had to have had help. I mean, there's like a whole underground power station. Right. Yeah.
All right, so we've got the jungle facility. Can I say how much I loved in the radio when we heard him go there? You just hear all sorts of animals chasing after them. That was such a great part of the radio, I must say.
I love I think the description, which made me really sad, but I think the map, something about like unseen creatures or whatever, and then there was sort of like either the Naga or this dragon serpentine kind of like statues, and I thought we were gonna get some cool things, but we only got the monkeys. I mean, we later got dragons, but I don't know, maybe.
I listened to it the other day. There's the radio on Shangri-La where
Mhm.
Brock and Gary get eaten by something on the water. Like you hear it crunching on them. It's kind of disturbing. But yeah,
I
I'm
thought that
pretty
was
sure that's supposed to be the Naga.
interesting. I thought that there was supposed to be like an aquatic zombie, and that's what they were getting attacked by. But
No,
that
I
would
think
be.
I think it is the Naga as well.
I mean,
But
I want
there's
to
just
believe
it's
it's
so
that.
it's everywhere around the map, and it's just so yeah.
Yeah, I want to believe it's that because I don't know. You put unseen creatures, and I was hoping for something. Maybe that's where some of the bios came from. That's where they got them.
Ooh.
But
It's an interesting
yeah,
little detail. I think it's also important to note like the time paradox nature of Shangri-La.
and the space paradox nature of Shangri-La.
Yeah. Tack would know. But like the on the map in Alpha Omega, Broken Arrow recognizes Shangri-La as a time paradox site. So it's like this is something that's known, and Richtofen may have even exploited in some way.
So
Like potentially, like imagine this though. Imagine Richtofen has an unlimited amount of 115 because he can
Oh.
restart the thing, get more. I don't know. I wouldn't know how that would work, but I feel like he would use that to
Yeah,
his advantage somehow.
I feel like it would either work or not, because then it's like, yeah, if the 115 is sort of above, if it's causing the time paradox, does that mean that there's a limited supply of it because it's above time? But yet, if it's causing the time paradox, can it just duplicate itself? That's yeah, I
it
like that.
reminds me. It reminds me of. I think where buried is might be a time paradox site as well, in the sense that what I think of.
And it's a space thing too, so.
Yeah. But to do what I always do and
Mhm.
bring up Lost. Um, when you said time paradox site, it immediately made me think of this moment on Lost where someone arrives on the island and they have a clock. And they notice the clocks are time is moving different on one place than another place. And that immediately made me also think of that of the Jeb Bush radio. About how he was down in the mine, he thought for a few hours, and people said he was down there for like 5 days. So that's where it's, are these special? I guess they're just special pockets that, man, if there's special pockets that move through time and space, that's gonna be amazing.
What was it? There was one thing in Chronicles, right? I think it was like a fracture or Sally or something winds up in Shangri-La too.
Yeah, she's
Like
all
you,
there.
yeah, you have like people just like getting thrown.
I guess the last thing you would talk about with Shangri-La would be its location. Tack, this has gone back and forth over the years. But in my eyes, there's only one right answer. What is that, Tack?
So I'm gonna burst your bubble and
no.
not answer it.
The Forerunners have betrayed us.
I'm gonna, I got the original title of the thread was Shangri-La is on Mars, and that got a lot of heat. And I've backed down over the years, and I'm willing to say that it, okay, at one point it was on Mars, and maybe it's, I don't know how it moves between time and space, but yeah, no, it's it's on Mars. Let's be real.
This is like a god denying himself.
Well, he's just humble.
Yeah, I got some backlash for that one, so I'm just trying to not totally. Well, okay, so here's the thing. We know that from the JGB coordinates, which I think we recorded an episode on. I don't know if we ever released it. Right, the JGB coordinates are in the Himalayas, and so you have to recognize and
well, yeah, it is in the Himalayas.
Right, you have to recognize its place there. So for me to title the thread that it's on Mars is too absolute and a little arrogant. But yeah, okay, yes, I will. It's on Mars.
Sometimes those balls pay off, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with how it wound up on Mars, because originally I was like, no, I don't want it to be on Mars. I was like, I like that it's in the Himalayas, but
everything's right.
Yeah, but in the weird way that it shifts between time and space, and at that point, so many weird things have happened. I'll be like, yeah, whatever, it's fine.
Sure.
It visits Mars, and I'm like, I can sleep at night.
And then what's the cipher about that? Has Venus in it. You're like, okay, this is starting to become potentially, if that cipher's correct, which it seems like it is. This is becoming pretty interplanetary.
So speaking of interplanetary and places not belonging or not being where they belong, Siberian facility? Unless we had any more. Do you have anything more on the Juggle facility?
Nope.
Well, I was gonna say the Crystal Skull, but I guess that's just a keeper or something like that, right?
Yeah. Okay. It's a lot more tied to keepers or apothecons. Would you say?
That's a good question.
I personally believe. So okay, I would love to. I'm going to put a caveat in there saying, I don't know. It's been 7 years since I've reviewed the evidence, but the quotes when they're walking through about how the art isn't quite right, how things just aren't quite right, always made me believe. And then the fact that you do the Easter egg and do the Illuminati tiles, just to me was just signs that this isn't what you like. This isn't the good side, so to speak. And so to learn, right, we've got the Illuminati, which is exemplified by the pyramid, which we know is on Moon, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's tied to the Apothecons, right? They created it originally. Yeah. So I consider the site to be more tied to the Apothecons personally, but that's their Black Ops 1 route. Who knows, what route they ever wanted to, they can change it to. So that's,
I mean, I think no matter what, in the end, it somehow was connected to the Apothecons because, with the skull, that, I mean, I don't really know the lifespan of the keepers or how it works for them, but it's no longer there. So it could be that it was originally under the keeper influence, and then over time, the Apothecons took over. I mean, it's directly tied to now with Shadow Man kind of directing Richtofen. So I think in the end, it's the Apothecons. But how long were they there? Who's there? Why are they there? I think there's a little bit more leeway with that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's possible the people there might have originally worshipped keepers, like in their ancient times, but then the 115 being there corrupted it, and the Apothecons started using it. Because I mean, the Apothecons and keepers used to be one race, so ancient, they are.
It would also explain, maybe why Richtofen was able to gain their trust so fast. If it's like, oh, it's the return of our gods, it usually never works out well.
Yeah.
So Siberia, we kind of went over this in another. We did a whole podcast on Siberia, which I would recommend. It's called Spleen Spies Shards, right?
Spleen
Shards and Spies.
Spleen Spies and what?
Shards.
Yep, that's right. That was a fantastic episode, and I think everyone needs to go. I think pause this episode right now, and just go check that one out as a filler for this. Then come right back here and listen to the last
right in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, they talk about being near Tunguska, 115, the Super Soldat program, undead testing, breaking the trust barrier. Other than that, there's a little stuff. But
let's break it down this way. So what did we perceive? It's one of the really fun parts of the story, I think, is the way that they go back and change so much of or fill in and change some of the stuff. So I think let's talk about it. What was our, Call of the Dead, Black Ops 1, 2011 perception of what Call of the Dead represented?
To me, I think it was just another, major 935 facility that Richtofen had, his own agenda, but it seemed like over time, especially in the Tagder Toten, it seems that Richtofen's influence kind of was more than it was before. Like I just pictured, Richtofen had maybe he worked here for a bit, had some stuff he did on the side, but it was a major 935 facility. Now, I don't know. It's the whole thing with Tag and the shards. It seems Richtofen's role is definitely larger.
But I feel like from the start, and even in Tagder Toten, the idea was it was breaking the trust barrier. It was creating this army out of thin air, seemingly, for the Germans to restart this war. To me, that's always what it's been about: breaking the undead trust barrier to create that army.
Sure.
It was like their
Yeah.
final attempt.
For me, it was always an entrance to Hollow Earth, supposedly, in my mind, headcanon potentially, that was important for its proximity to essentially Vril, and mainly the Wonder Weapon having Vril was, for me, to me, that defined the station was Vril.
That is true.
For some reason. And so I always thought, for example, here's one of those things that coming out of Call of the Dead that I thought was, you hurt Romero and he goes back into the water, right? And then goes somewhere and comes back and, he's all good again. And so to me, he was always going into Hollow Earth and recharging, replenishing, doing his thing, and coming back out. And so for me, that Vril was always the big thing. And then the scavenger, we've talked about off recording how that, the Pack-a-Punch name is Hyena, and that's on the Dorice chalkboards. And, for me, the thing that I think about for the Dorice chalkboards is the Vril spacecraft. And so it's just, for me, I don't know. I always originally connected that with Vril Initiative.
I think that's probably the best answer, because the sort of proximity out of all the maps to like Tunguska, I think really, and even when you had the was it the VR 11, it definitely seemed like that was its the significance of it initially, because I think the stuff about the mind control and everything really came with Tag, right? Where they were trying to solidify that as the place, if I recall, right? But yeah, I think that Vril is definitely out of all the places. Yeah, I think that isn't that the first time we get like the most explicit reference to Vril, right? With the weapon.
I mean, I guess if you want to define explicit as, right, the name being VR11, but I think the fact that the drawings of publicly known conspiracy world, on the Dorice chalkboards, like, to me, like, that's explicit.
That's true. I guess I just meant the first time it was really like name dropped.
Yeah, no, I
as
think
to whether
that's correct.
Yeah.
And then the next time I think was the Moon Radio, where they say
the real device, right? Yeah.
Go all in. Yeah.
Well, yeah, then they go all in, and then I was thinking of the radio where whoever says, I know of Maxis's Vril experiments at Dorice, I think he said, or something along those lines. But yeah, so I don't know. The Siberia facility is...
It's a lot going on there. I think that's probably the most diverse in such a short amount of time.
For real, I mean, we have Peter coming in. He makes...
Two spies.
Right, the idea of spies
after
all the stuff. So people thinking about Peter.
I mean, there's Pablo also, but yeah.
Pablo.
He was captured before, but
the reporter, yeah. It's just interesting because it does seem Call of the Dead was a little bare bones, as just another 935 facility, and then Tag, was at least now the most recent map in the Ether storyline. It's like that's where it ends, is Tag. I figured it'd be like Dorice or somewhere, but no, it's Tag.
Yeah, I'm still working on the theory. And sorry to cut you off, Brad. You can take it after this. I think this is I'm out of Siberia thoughts besides spleens, spies, and shards. Episode that you all need to go check out. But I personally have not nailed down the theory, but I think the music video for Light from the Shore, I really want to find something in there.
Don't forget Vanishing Shore also.
Ooh, I don't know that one, so I'm gonna have
orchestral remix.
Okay.
It's also good. It's like it's a different video too. But yeah.
The angle that the meteor, what appears to be a meteor in the Light from the Shore video, the way it comes in and the angle it takes is virtually exactly where the Morse code is coming from in the original Call of the Dead Easter egg in the sky to the left of the lighthouse. And so I don't know. The fact that I don't get what's going on in music video where you can, they're like looking into the meteor and then you like just are seeing events. I don't totally get that, but I want to understand it more.
So I just want to say, Tech, you need to make a new thread saying Call of the Dead is on Phobos. Just make a sequel. So,
Okay, deal.
Yeah, I need to see that in my life. Just the comeback we all needed.
Yeah, it's coming.
So, yeah.
Do you think that if you made a thread that what was it, Shangri-La and Call of the Dead were never on Phobos or Mars or anything, you think they would just retcon it in the future? And that it was all one lie. I think that's the next actual phase for this.
I think you just work for Treyarch.
I think I'm going to come out with a thread on how Moon is on Moon, but I don't know how that'll be received.
Oh, well, you know what? What about the whole
SBS.
Area 51 post-Moon?
Oh, no. I hate that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I feel like at this point we can't really throw that out.
This is where I almost am liking the idea of time paradox sites. There's just, I don't know. I can't stop thinking in lost terms anymore. But there's just fucking pockets of excuse my language, children. There is pockets of energy all over the earth. And I haven't looked much into the ley lines theory. I've seen it on CODs. Ammon posted a lot. Is that related to that somehow? Can you fill me in shortly on that?
I mean, I think that's kind of the idea, is that there's sort of this unseen energy that connects points of, I'm not really sure exactly what determines the layout, but that's why sort of areas throughout history have had maybe like spiritual significance. And these ley lines are, I guess, it's hard to explain because I'm just trying to think of like, we were talking before about, I think, like the wormhole and tunnels and everything.
Mhm.
Like I almost picture like it's like if you picture like an X-ray or something, and it's all these sort of lines connecting points on the globe.
I think that
And
sounds about right.
yeah, and I think like the way I look at it is if people can be teleported, then so can places, and I think that it might be able to like ride a ley line from one area to the other. I mean, it all just ties into like mystical energy and how that all is, like its own skeletal structure in the universe.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question. Is there evidence in zombies of, so we know that increased exposure to 115, does, things to like memory leakage and, all that kind of stuff. Is there evidence of going through a teleporter and traversing time itself, like being, like, not just the exposure to 115, but like literally traversing time is damaging to you and yourself? Because do you know if there's any?
I mean, the only thing is, I know Takeo gets sick, right, from teleporting.
Right.
He throws up a lot, but
there's because I mean, we've talked about this a lot, like in the Discord, but like Richtofen, in most of the premise maps, Richtofen will have a moment where he's like, he has to repeat the same phrase. It's like a vessel for Max is opening the gateway. It's some variation of that. Like he's confused where he is, and he has to sort of say those lines as like words to like pull himself back to reality, right? Because he's been all over the place.
It's almost like it's like splitting him, like his mind, body, soul are sort of like scattered all across the universe.
I think that might be kind of related.
Yeah, that's what there are. Man, I feel bad for the viewers. I'm sorry if you've never watched Lost. The fact that it was on the dice panel stage, in the background is to me just so solidifying of so many ideas in my head. But yeah, it's funny. In Lost, when that happens, the people's brains are like traveling through time, or not but they'll flip on and off 1 minute from being 40 years in the past, from being like right now. They're just so confused on where they are. So that makes a lot of sense to me, that they are confused.
It's kind of like an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's about Star Trek. I was thinking of the iRobot, the one story, because like there's something with like, a super computer, like a hyper intelligent like AI that's in charge of like a starship, and two guys keep like jumping through hyperspace, and they're having like it's just the toll on their mind. It's like they're having like religious like revelations and all these crazy things, and they have no clue what's happening, whether or not it was real or it was just an interesting story.
We should have a podcast on just stuff tangentially related to zombies.
Yeah.
Other media.
I 100% think we should do a series of. Yeah, I want to talk about Lost, and I know Hunter does, for just an endless amount of time. Hunter and I call each other multiple times per week for a few hours just to talk about the lore in Lost and take notes, and it's amazing. And so if you guys bringing up Star Trek references, I think would be useful to other people. I think we should do a Lovecraft episode. There's so many angles we can take.
Do we have anything else to say about Siberia? Really?
It's cold.
The monkeys. That's connected to Siberia. That they were now with Apothicon blood. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, right?
Yeah. I don't even want to think about the monkeys.
Okay, so next up, Griffin Station.
You know what? It kind of to start off, I feel like it answers some of the questions about Shangri-La, because Richtofen had to have help. Because how do you have the materials to build a moon base?
Like, I know a bunch of cronies.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
He had like a whole crowd. Whenever he appoints Groff to be the station head.
Yeah, so I feel like if they're able to get the moon base, then it might answer the question of having, or maybe I don't know.
Yeah, he had some sort of industrial producer on his side somewhere, that's feeding him all this material, like 100%.
So we know it's a source of 115 based on the terminal on Black Ops. There's a mention of it, of the moon being a source.
Yes.
In addition, they got excavators, sort of digging into, and I guess help them build the base. And they build this base around the MPD, which is this Apothicon device for opening a gateway to the ether. That's
okay. Question about the infrastructure. So we know Richtofen.
A lot of questions.
Yeah. So Richtofen obviously goes, believe he hits Shang and then he goes to Moon. And he is already okay. So then he's in an encapsulated space. So that the whole room has been built already around the MPD, correct?
You can find a sketch on Der Eisendrache of
right.
Like they dug out like the top. So yeah, it's like a pocket filled with oxygen on the moon. So maybe it's like the machine itself emits oxygen, or there just happen to be oxygen within that bubble.
Yeah, or like, I guess at the very least, I mean, who knows, with being locked in space and time, but if it is sort of under the influence of the Shadow Man, I suppose it's easy to assume that he may have shielded Richtofen to some extent, because he briefly touches the MPD, right? It's not like he's up there for a while. Yeah, so.
Yeah, he touched it. I think he literally just, like a touch and then back off, and it shocks him.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I guess even the space around him could have been teleported too, so like it created like a little bubble.
And I guess I assume then they come back with the suits, and then they dig out a whole area, build the labs there, make it airtight.
That was really efficient. I mean, I guess
they built the whole moon base in like 2 years.
Seriously,
1945 technology.
Right. Let's
build
on the moon before anyone else does.
Axis doesn't find out. He doesn't find out about the millions of dollars.
Even though it's in the terminal, I don't. Maybe whatever.
It said they're astrological teams, so maybe that just means people looking at a telescope or something.
I assume that's the case because of we see all the orange. What is it in Doris? We see all the orange dots.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
That's just the 115, not the station.
Who knows? I mean, I guess it's also sort of nitpicky because we're talking about time traveling and space travel. So I guess it got built, and that's there's a total plethora of ways that could have happened.
All right. So one question I have: we don't have to swerve away from Moon per se, and take us back there at any point. But so my question is, what's up with okay? So we know Shang after 935 uses it, we see, like Russian and I think Vietnamese, boxes everywhere. And then I think on Moon, right, we see Russian and American stuff. So remind me again how all of 935 stuff gets partitioned. Is that because Richthofen was making deals with the Soviets and the Americans?
Yeah, and I'm guessing also the zombie side of the space race maybe also involved going to Moon, because we know what was it, classified radios, the astronaut, were people sent from Area 51. I guess they were trying to. So
Yeah, neither side got it. Got Griffin Station. It was like they had to basically figure out how to redo what Richthofen did with the teleporter. Like both sides did, and it was like we have to race to beat the Soviets to the Moon, to the Griffin Station.
Man, that would be cool if history was like that. Probably not, because we'd have zombies and 115.
Well, you don't know yet. I mean, yeah.
Well, we got 5 more years to find out before the Earth blows up. We're so close. That's so strange.
Ooh, random question I have for you. How do you feel about the Black Ops 2 promotional picture not referencing, what was it, like December 21st? Or I guess, like, December. I was so excited about the idea of December 21st, 2012, like being an important, just like a mythological date that was, within
like the end of the world, 2012.
Yeah, like on Moon, but then, like, I don't know. I one of the things I don't like about zombies sometimes is the way that, understandably, it has to follow the rest of the development cycle of the game, so like they just have to skip eras based on what game they're making for multiplayer and campaign. But it's so unfortunate.
Yeah,
and I think, and then even when they were just like, screw it, and they're just like, well, it can be its own era, but guns and stuff are displaced in space and time, and then it kind of just becomes its own confusing thing, because then plot lines are added, plot lines are dropped, and 2012 would have been a nice thing to have. I mean, who knows? Maybe in some pocket of the universe it happened.
So
multiverse, baby.
Yeah, the multiverse.
Yeah. So go back to Moon. One thing I think is interesting is the creation of the biodome, which I don't know if that was out of necessity, or was that was out of like interest in like allowing people to, be able to live permanently on different planets, like, or was that out of necessity, like they needed more oxygen to like supply this base and like power?
I guess probably like a little bit of column A and column B, because I'm imagining like if they're messing around with these devices and you can be sent anywhere in the universe, and you kind of take it from maybe 935's perspective, is that they could then, basically in theory colonize pretty much anywhere and everywhere to some extent.
It's just kind of amazing they made that.
Yeah.
Like, of all the crazy shit they've made, the biodome seems like it's because it's something you could actually see in the real world, but it's like we haven't done it yet.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still sort of confused on space construction, but whatever.
Yeah, well,
teleporting gets things there, and people in space.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Is that the transportation costs are so high that what you want to have for construction on another planet is the what's colloquially called like the 3D printing, where you're able to create things out of more raw materials instead of transporting full things, there. But if you can just teleport it, then I mean, shit, you're good to go.
And I feel like Monty probably out of a majority of the maps probably had the most influence here, considering he sort of led, or not Monty, Shadowman had led Richthofen here. I'm imagining that there was probably some unseen hand that accelerated the building process, and maybe made things easier.
Would be interesting. I wonder if, to reference what we were talking about, the what is it, Kustover Posten?
Yeah.
Kustover Posten, where at least an initial idea had been that was a concentration camp. yeah, it's interesting to think about just what they could have gotten done with just having that. I guess that this will sound, I don't know, crude, so apologies, but with just that labor at their as a resource that they would try to grasp upon. I wonder. I'm trying to remember the exact Christopher Poston reference. Do we know if they were construction workers, or like could have been, or did they just like take them there to? Oh, they were there to fill the MPD with souls.
Right,
That's right.
to kill them.
Yeah, so
Right.
it really, I mean, even when they said soldiers, I mean, it could just be prisoners of war, right?
Right, yeah,
Because there's
something like
no,
that.
specification.
It says the timeline says it goes out of its way to specify scientists and soldiers, which might just be code for this is not a concentration camp. These are not civilians. That's what it might be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just by that wording.
Maybe just dissidents.
But
Right?
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
dissidents of the organization. Yeah.
I mean, I think it could be everyone too.
Or
I mean, it's
spies.
just, yeah, soldiers. I mean, you could have your own dissident scientist and, rebellious soldiers and POWs. I
For
mean, it's
sure,
just,
someone at Baruch or somewhere that doesn't want to carry out some mind control, some whatever the XYZ. They're like, all right, sounds good. You're going to the moon.
you know what would have been an
Still
interesting,
good work.
like the shadow sort of chancellor or whatever, whoever after Hitler. It would have been interesting if they added more of that person's role into the story, and if they had like direct contact with Richthofen, because I feel like that would also
Oh,
help
yeah.
explain a lot of these things. Why like Richthofen was able to get all these bases and stuff built that seemingly had a lot of support. If it was maybe like he had some back deals with the
Yeah.
chancellor, and why they're able to, like, oh, we'll just send all these people here. I think that would have like filled in a lot of missing pieces as to how this was accomplished.
Just get the chancellor.
The chancellor. I want the chancellor. It would also be fun too, because then that means Richtofen was playing like 3, countries at the same time. So
What a
it just
guy.
seems like he's the missing piece. Be like, yeah, we'll go along with it.
I don't know a lot about this. This is some science mumbo jumbo, but they clearly worked on stuff with quantum entanglement, which is some shit you see in Star Trek. But I think the idea is that it's like all this, because the QED, it just gives you a random thing, right? Some random event.
Yeah.
So like I think the idea with quantum, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like there's so many different universes or like ways that this event can happen. It's just like pulling from one random universe and doing something from that. Is that kind of the
I think-
idea?
Because it's all
I
just
don't
like
know if
probability, right? Like,
I don't know if it's so much probability or randomness, because my understanding originally of quantum entanglement was that there were two defined things that interacted with each other, and so as opposed to it, yeah, I would love to know whether it's choosing one from a universe, or whether it's like chosen to be with one on another universe, if that makes sense. Like they share things between the two of them as opposed to it like pulling things randomly.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I don't. I just remember quantum entanglement. All the original experiments were with two things that were relating to one another. So I assumed it was keeping that, but I guess it could be random.
Is this also with the, what is it? Like electron is a particle in a wave as well, or am I? That's sort of a separate,
Maybe.
or like
Maybe. We're all about to be physics majors.
I just thought, probability. It's it's here, it's not there, it's alive, it's dead, it's pulling things from random places, and that's as far as I went. I was like, okay, I get the thematic connection.
It's just super interesting, and we don't get anything on that. Like what went into making that? What if they?
Yeah.
What findings have they made? But yeah.
I mean, is it officially or unofficially like the whole like you could be blessed or cursed? Like I always thought that was interesting. Like is that an official thing in the game that like sometimes you'd receive? Like I know sometimes good things happen and sometimes bad things happen, but was it like a fan name that you refer to it as a blessing or a curse? Because I just kind of thought that was
I mean,
especially
sure,
with like
Takio might have referred to as a curse, but it's like that's Takio. But
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, that might
like-
even be like a filed like script name, but I don't know.
I was kind of like the idea of like the curse survive, or like the I don't know, just interesting tying into like fate and sort of the stuff that we inevitably get later. Like,
Yeah.
how many things are truly random, or what's kind of what larger things are at play over here. Could you connect the QED to the to like the mystery box? Because I feel like that was always the.
Probably, actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Because I mean, as far as we know, in the later like chronicles and radios and stuff like that, like the mystery box is just sort of Monty's thing, right? Like it sort of appears. Like there's no like actual creation of it. It's just sort of a
Well,
strange.
There's like the mystery box that's on Origins. They like
Yeah, the like apothecon.
yeah, they like found it. It's from like the Great War. The same with the Pack Punch. So it's like maybe that's like the original, and this box is based off of it. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like a little mini mystery box.
Yeah, maybe it's just Monty putting it there. But
Ooh.
interesting thought. What about the Vril artifacts that Richtofen mentioned he found? Like I assume that includes like the egg, maybe the Vril.
The egg
Oh,
moving
no.
robot.
Yeah, probably just the egg because the Vril rod came from Angola.
Is there any history to the egg other than that it's just needed?
It talks. Apparently.
Good.
Says voice lines.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do we know? Is it like Apothecon Keeper or any type of like there are trapped souls in the egg? Or
We have no idea. It's like not much on it. We don't know what Nexus needed it for. Well, I mean, there's the whole thing with like when you throw Gersh at it to give it to Maxis, then like I think 3 appear, 1 on each rocket.
Huh.
So maybe they're used with the rocket to do some
To do
shit,
some
Blow up the ley
crazy
lines.
shit.
open the rift.
Yep.
I think the rockets targeted the ley lines to circle back to that.
Oh, okay. That would be one heck of an
Too
episode.
far.
Yeah.
It's out of my depths. But I mean, encoded with those real artifacts, to segue a little bit, in Der Eisendrache, there is a slide on one of like the picture slides, and it's people. Well, I mean, it's ones of them showing the moon being excavated and the site being built, and then there's one where it's showing them dissecting a keeper skeleton, and I'm thinking, did that come from Der Eisendrache, or did that come from Griffin, or just from the moon? Was there a skeleton of a keeper found on the moon, or just an old apothecon?
Yeah.
Could have come from, I don't know, maybe it's related to Shang somehow. Since, we got stuff there, some skulls and
That's true. It's possible.
Yeah. I mean, we know the Apothecons created the like MPD, right?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
there's no real context surrounding that. We just know it. Like, was it just there to ensnare mortals? Like,
Right.
it-
I mean, keepers might have been there to defend it after to keep people from getting near it, but for whatever reason they weren't there anymore. But
yeah. The Keepers, for as large a role they play in the story, there's really not much on them.
right. They're supposed to be like watchers of the universe, like protecting it, but they're not doing a very good job, to be honest.
Maybe they were just, I don't know. I like to think they were just more hands off, and the Apothecons were maybe more of the authoritarian or interventionist. But
Yeah.
I don't know what the Keepers, what they were doing, where they are.
So keepers have a really heavy tie to Der Eisendrache. There's like
So do spleens.
skeletons. Yeah, spleens too.
Skeletons were just such a strange addition. I mean, I know they were. Yeah, were they in the Nightmares or they're in the Dead Ops sequel? It just, yeah. Is there any significance to those skeletons?
Just skeletons, man.
It's just cool. Sorry.
They don't have spleens or brains. How are they? Are they just magic skeletons?
I'm just guessing. Yeah,
What are
they're
we-
just sort of like
what are we in?
puppets.
A Star Trek episode? Okay, so forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, also I mean like the keeper statues and their connections with each of the bows, like, and I mean it's the whole castle's connection to the Great War. How much did Group 935 know? That's the first question. The second question is all that stuff exclusive to that fracture?
Yeah, I think that's that is a tough question because I mean the giant precedes it, and they get there from, following the robot, and it's like if that's a fracture specific thing. It's weird because it does seem to, like you said, to be tied to Moon. It has like a significant place in the story, but at the same time, is it just like an alternate version of a place that was in the normal timeline?
It's just like why would it be
Yeah.
different? I suppose. Like why would that stuff not be there in the original timeline? Is more the question.
Yeah, that's my general philosophy. And it can get me in some trouble, but I just generally think unless it's clearly stated otherwise, I just kind of assume it's also in the other. Well,
Yeah, well, I mean, in
there's
some way,
there's
shape.
exceptions. So, but yeah, there are some things I just assume are
Well,
universal.
it could be it could sort of be like the thing with Doris and the Giant. I mean, there could have been a Darius and Drac that existed in the unfractured, timeline, and that maybe it didn't feature everything that was in Darius and Drac, but it it did it did have some place in the sort of original timeline. I mean, not to make things even more confusing, but to sort of solidify that Darius and Drac may be more than a one-off thing. I mean, there is the multiplayer map.
Yes,
Sort of.
I was about to say that. There's shot in
Yeah.
Shadow. I was looking at that recently just to like find whatever I could related to zombies, but yeah, that's interesting.
Because I think I mean, whether or not it's canon, I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past Treyarch to make it canon, because I think the description is the specialist gets sent back in time to that. So, I mean, you do hear it is a little bit confusing because I think you hear Primus, but I'm guessing, like, unless the specialists were sent across space and time to some extent,
So there's a fracture.
yeah, are they sent to the fracture? But I don't know.
Yeah, at DE they also had rocket testing. That's where they did V2 rocket testing, which makes sense for where it is. So I mean, it had a larger part to play in the German war effort. I didn't put it here, but the Tesla coils, and it seemed like they were supposed to be used for like anti-aircraft also, like the way it could shoot the rocket out of the sky. It had like a protect and destroy mode.
The other thing I found interesting was the sort of those launch pads. Were they like,
Mhm.
are they preliminary teleporters or what are they?
I don't know. What they're called? Wonder spheres. Wonder spheres. I don't know. I don't know. Is it?
What a name.
Well, okay. Thinking about people falling from great heights. I'm thinking of Origins, where Rick Tofen mentions when you fall out of the rock or the giant robot. It's like something about velocity compensators, which is like a canon explanation for falling from that high.
Huh.
But I guess maybe is that the same technology used in those pads? I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought it was. I mean, it wouldn't make much sense, but I always saw them as sort of like prototype teleporters where they weren't able to sort of create a link, a direct link between 2 points in time and space, but they were sort of able to move space. So like kind of like why you're able to be launched. You know what I mean? It's almost like an early form of teleportation, but without like actually going through.
Right. There's all that 115 on the map that's just like floating. It just makes stuff float, which is never really talked about. But...
Is that the first time that the barriers are all floating? I feel like
Pretty sure.
because that was another interesting thing that, like, remember before it's like, oh, it's just, obviously it's gameplay, but like, okay, destroyed rubble, like this is a site where, there's a bunch of, I don't know, like boards and toppled like desks and stuff. But yeah, it does seem like Darius and Drac is the first time that the stuff is actually like suspended, which, you know what? Side note for references, I think they said that the what was it, Ravensoft, which helped develop Black Ops 3, they originally made the reboot of Wolfenstein, and one of the things I remember, the not the reboot, but it was the 2009 version of Wolfenstein. And one of the things that happens in the game, there's like these canisters of special like Thule energy, and when they explode, or I think you have an amulet, and you can like freeze space and time, and everything is sort of suspended. And I think they said that Darius and Drac, this is what I read, I don't know, but Darius and Drac like took inspiration from that game. So I wonder if the sort of everything kind of like floating is a direct reference to Wolfenstein.
Yeah, I guess okay, let's end it there for a sec. I enjoyed in Black Ops 1 how much debate there was over what Eagle's Nest was.
Hmm.
It seemed like the two main things that rose to the top of the list were either Siberia or Doris. But we got introduced to a new facility, which was Der Eisendruck, that like Der Eisendruck to me almost feels like um, a prelude to a lot of BO4 in the sense of really throwing it back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like it was always there, just kind of in the shadows. You didn't really
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got much love for Der Eisendruck for that reason. You know, the dragon heads are weird.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird. I got the
Yeah,
ghosts
well-
are a little weird. Little ghost keeper, but
The Ghost Keepers, the skeleton. Well, the Dragon Heads I thought were particularly weird because they have a very Mob of the Dead aesthetic.
Right.
Like Cerberus and sort of like, oh, they're I guess going with the skeletons and ghosts and stuff like that. But then we have Division 9 resurrecting dragons. So it's like, are they the same dragons? Like this seems more Mob. I mean, I guess you have the dogs and then the Mob of the Dead hellhounds. So, but it's just, yeah, I guess are we supposed to believe there's just two separate dragon thingies that are going on?
All right. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah. Anything else you want to say
No,
about Der Eisendruck?
it's a cool map.
I guess
I remember, yeah, last thing, watching the egg. That was the one that everyone had the blue screen on, right? At the end, they
that
were.
was most of the BO3, to be honest. I
Okay.
remember GK having a big GK and Zetsubo having lots of issues.
Fair enough. But I think it was was this one like Noah J and Admiral Baru? They were just going at it for
Didn't
they
he like
said,
always
I remember
crash?
DE being
yeah.
and I just remember I remember the final thing being Red Austin, Mr.
Okay. Oh, I forgot about that part. I remember, yeah, because that's what I remember is Admiral Baru like doing the whole thing like multiple times and crashing.
Yeah, that sucks. That happened a lot, and that's gotta suck to see as a developer too.
Yeah. True. Well, I think that's all I've got on this latest installment of 935 Facilities.
So that's all we got today. Next time we're probably gonna talk about some of the stranger, more forgotten Group 935 places. So we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you.